What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 11 of the Patel and Kumar Show. I am Shivam Patel, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And my co-host, Mr. Kumar, coming to you live from Mumbai, India. Mr. Kumar, Lakers have a 3-1 lead, a commanding 3-1 lead, I should say, on the brink of winning their 17th championship, LeBron's fourth. How are you feeling, sir?
Just one more. I just gotta have that patience. But anyway, welcome everyone and welcome to the Patel and Kumar NBA talk show. And this is Mr. Kumar, the one coming to you live from Mumbai. And Mr. Patel, of course, we're gonna discuss about the NBA finals and then move on to Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown, who's going to analyze the NBA Finals and some of the other games. And last but not the least, we have Sanjana Ramesh, the only D1 NCAA scholarship girl, college athlete from India. Of course, she's not the first one, but she's the second one, but she's the current active one. But man, I'm excited for the 11th episode, and we have come a long way, Mr. Patel.
Oh man, we have. This has been a very exciting season. The NBA, we're very grateful that the NBA restarted again, and now we're at the NBA Finals, about to crown a champion. This is the basketball fans' dream. And so let's get started, Mr. Kumar. We got an exciting show planned for you today. So let's talk about the Lakers and the Heat, Game 3 and Game 4. So I'll let you get started first, Mr. Kumar. What are your thoughts and takeaways from those games?
Well, I mean, Game 1 and Game 2, after that, I think pretty much everybody had written off, the Miami Heat, and it was pretty much considered that probably the Lakers would sweep the finals. But come on, Jimmy, you got to give props to G. Butler. He played an amazing game without Goran Dragic, without Bam Adebayo. He took it upon his shoulders to basically carry this Heat team and win that Game 3, 115-104. Let me tell you, I mean, Lakers looked really bad in that game. And, I think Jimmy Butler put them on the skates right there. Of course, Game 4, a very hard-fought game. That felt like a playoff game for me, a finals game. I just wish there was the audience and the crowd. I think that game would have been more lively if that was the case. So, Game 3 and Game 4, I mean, we have one more game to go, Mr. Patel.
One more game. I could see the Lakers fans counting down for sure. Mr. Kumar, after watching that debacle in Game 1 and Game 2, I'm just happy that the games have been close and the games have been competitive. And it's been fun, to watch the Heat and the Lakers kind of go at each other. But the Lakers just have, too much talent. So I think, speaking of Game 3 first, there's some offensive sets that really allowed the Heat to take some high-quality shots. And the Heat ran a lot of pistol action in Game 3. So let me just quickly explain what that is. So it's where a ball handler dribbles it to the wing, and then he has a shooter in the corner and a big man at the top of the key. And then the shooter in the corner comes towards the ball handler, and he does a little slip screen, leading to an easy basket. And it really forces the defense to make quick decisions and to communicate. So the Heat did this in Game 3, where Jimmy Butler bring the ball up court. They had Tyler Hero in the corner, Myers Leonard at the top of the key, and Tyler Hero came towards Jimmy Butler, and he did a quick slip screen, and there was not very much communication between LeBron James and Dwight Howard, and that allowed the Heat to get a lot of easy baskets. One other play is they went off the pistol action with the dribble handoff variation. So it's the same thing. Jimmy Butler was on the wing. Duncan Robinson came behind him and did a dribble handoff, and the defender came flying at Duncan Robinson. He quickly passed to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler passed back to Duncan Robinson, driving to the lane, and the defense, forcing the defense to collapse and finding wide open shooters. So I think that kind of actions and those kind of offensive sets allowed the Heat to get high quality offense in Game 3, leading them to victory.
Yes, thank you, Malini Hemraj. That was, you pretty much sound like Coach Nick there, who's going to come on to our show pretty soon. So, I mean, you're getting into that whole breakdown thing. So is Miami Heat lacking a proven superstar to win a championship? I think yes. I think Jimmy Butler played like a superstar in Game 3, but I think he's in that cusp of like a star who is probably go on to become a superstar. I think he just needs to be more consistent with his scoring. Even the series against Boston, I mean, he was not like the top scorer for the Miami Heat. It was actually Bam Adebayo. And, so I think he came up good. But I would also like to comment a little bit of breakdown of my own. I think the difference in Game 3 and Game 4, one was the presence of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis got into foul trouble and he had no rhythm. And, so it pretty much, let Jimmy Butler get into the lane more often. And I also felt without Bam Adebayo in the lineup, actually Coach Spoelstra could spread out his floor, because with Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard, who can shoot the three, the defense spreads out a little. So Jimmy Butler had pretty much a lot of opportunities to drive inside and score. And of course, I mean, he put a 40-point triple-double without even attempting a 3-point. I mean, it's unheard of in today's NBA that he didn't attempt a single 3-point, So you got to give credit to him where it is deserved. But at the same time, I think it was a great adjustment on part of Vogel in Game 4 to put Anthony Davis on Jimmy Butler and just make it more difficult for him to get inside that lane. And, the size and the wingspan just makes it harder for Jimmy Butler, and he has to adjust his shots. And that's what, he had a great start. He was 5-on-5 in that first quarter in Game 4. And then he was 3 of 10. And, that made the big difference in terms of Lakers winning that game. So I think it was an overall defensive game for Lakers in Game 4. And, of course, great contributions from KCP. Of course, Marcus Morris, even Danny Green chipped in with about 9 points. So there it is. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was LeBron and Anthony Davis actually praying across KCP's pitcher there, thanking him for that fantastic comeback.
Oh my God. Yeah, KCP played unbelievable for them. And there was a huge stretch with about 3 minutes left to go in the game, in Game 4, where Jimmy Butler basically had a wide open 3-pointer that would have given the Heat the lead, the 1-point lead. He misses it. Lakers come down the floor. KCP hits a corner 3. That's a 6-point swing, Mr. Kumar. And the Lakers outscored the Heat 12-8 in the final 3 minutes of the game. And the Lakers took a memo from the Heat. Usually it's the Heat that execute late in the games, but it was the Lakers. And it all comes down to shot making. It's a make or miss league. And the bottom line is the Lakers made shots down the stretch. Heat didn't. And that's why the Lakers won Game 4. And just touching on the Anthony Davis-Jimmy Butler matchup, the Lakers also did a great job of going underneath the pick and roll with Jimmy Butler, basically daring him to take a jump shot. And he was kind of hesitant at first. He did take a couple shots but missed. But still, Anthony Davis's length and athleticism still allowed him to contest the shot. And his lateral quickness, Mr. Kumar, someone that is 6'11", 7 foot, to have that little lateral quickness to be able to stay with the guard, that's crazy. But I'm not surprised because Anthony Davis played point guard in high school because he was actually 6'1" his junior year, and then he grew 10 inches his senior year. So Anthony Davis definitely has those point guard skills, and it shows because the shooting on the offensive end on the floor, 61% from the field, 55% from 3, 100% from the free throw line. You can't make those stats up, Mr. Kumar. He's shooting unbelievable and insane.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, this is the reason Anthony Davis was pretty much bought to the Lakers, to get win a title. I mean, that's the basic, the reason why they got him. And there's no doubt that he's a star in the making. And I think it's going to be even interesting to see him next season now that he is, lived up to that expectation. So anyway, I think let's move on because we have, a very important guest with us. And that's Coach Nick from BBALLBREAKDOWN. He's been a Division I college coach as well. So let's welcome Coach Nick into the program and let's have his views on the NBA Finals.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, everybody.
Welcome, Coach Nick. We're very honored and excited to have someone of your expertise, on the show. And like you said, you offer basketball analysis and are the man behind the B-Ball Breakdown. So, Coach Nick, I got a quick question for you. So, in Game 4, that when Anthony Davis was guarding Jimmy Butler, he really not allowed him to get into the paint and was using his lateral quickness and his length to contest shots. But when the Heat tried to put him in pick and roll and try to get him off of him, the Lakers went underneath the screen, and Anthony Davis still used his size and athleticism to contest the shot. So in Game 5, what are some things that the Heat can do to kind of combat this?
Well, it's interesting because I'm releasing a breakdown. I meant to finish it yesterday, but I couldn't. But it'll be out today. But in the first half, they actually did a very good job getting Anthony Davis off of Butler on those switches. So what was strange was in the second half, they kind of went away from some of that good stuff, which was a couple different things. They would screen and roll for him, obviously, when Jimmy Butler had the ball. But I don't know if that was as effective because, again, he was able to go underneath. And the adjustment the Lakers made in the third quarter was way underneath. And then the switch wasn't happening. But you could have Jimmy Butler set the ball screen himself. And they did that a couple of times and got the switch they wanted. And they got a double team when, like, KCP was on him and they'd back him down in the post and they'd get good shots. So they didn't do that much at all. They had Jimmy Butler run off of a Kelly Olynyk screen off ball to the basket. And that was what was nice about that was it got him right into the lane. But the problem with that is now that AD is trailing behind, having switched, Jimmy Butler is going to go up against like Dwight, who's up in there, and he doesn't want to do that. And he tries to do a wraparound pass to Olynyk, who gets his shot blocked because AD is the guy who had to switch and is now back there. So that it causes all sorts of problems no matter what you want to do. But at the very least, what's in Spoelstra's mind, he's got to be just sort of shrugging and saying, we got the layup, right? We got a good shot right there. He happens to block it. That happens, but we can't really argue with the shot. So I would imagine you'd see more of that, like Butler coming off of pin downs, even like a traditional two guard would normally do it. He's been the lead guard probably too much, and they need to get him off ball more. I think they'll find more success that way. But the bottom line is Jimmy Butler shouldn't be shooting threes. It's just not his thing. Every once in a while he'll make one, but like you mentioned, there's not much for me to offer. You guys covered it in the last 5 minutes. It was pretty good. I don't know what else I can say. But that shot that Butler missed in the corner was a quick shot. There was like 15 seconds left on the shot clock when they were down by 2 or 3. And that seemed to be the game with about, I think, 3 minutes to go. And so those are the shots he shouldn't take. But I understand why Butler would not want to just close that gap and drive using that extra space Anthony Davis is giving him because it's a black hole and it's going to be really hard to get that shot off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have our first question for you, Coach Nick. Austin Raphael is asking, what is it about the intangibles of Heat defense that make them so formidable beyond hedging like most teams?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, certainly we know that the Heat have this really special training program, and I've actually been trying to get some insight into what it is, and I haven't quite gotten any real details. It'd be hilarious if it was just like, oh, we run suicides more than anybody else, because that seems so ridiculously old school. But they obviously are in shape, and that's one thing. So when you play zone, for instance, that's a lot of extra running because you're closing out a lot more. Even though you're only playing a smaller area, there's a lot more movement in theory because today offenses, if you're guarding the guy in the corner, you probably get 10 seconds off where you're just kind of in place. So, but here's the other interesting thing is they didn't really play zone at all last game, which is a crazy adjustment that Spoelstra made considering that they've sort of hung their hat on zone. But I get it. They kind of got lit up the last game. They played a lot of zone. But I think it's the mixture of that keeps the Lakers on their toes, which is beneficial for the Heat. So the zone switching back and forth is something that makes the offense have to think a little bit. So that would be something I'm sure we're going to see more of in Game 5. And then they have interesting moments where they will. I'm always about not helping one pass away off the corners, for instance, and they do that sometimes. And then other players will be in the pack line help position early, and they're getting burned by that. I'm actually a guy who would always – I'm not a pack line guy. I don't agree with the whole system. There are people like at Virginia what's his name at Virginia?
Bennett.
Yeah, Bennett, Coach Bennett. He's had historical all-time great defenses at the college level with it. But all I can say is that if you're going to have your inside foot on the lane line with a guy at the corner, what we see a lot of with these smart NBA players is they'll drive kind of like by their man from the top right at that guy who has to sort of freeze. And then they just make the easiest pass that a high school player can make to the corner. And no, you can't get back out in time. It's the guy's open. Now, he might miss it, and you might kind of feel like you're doing something there, but you're kind of just getting away with it. And so that the Heat will do that, but they'll also do it where they will stunt correctly how I would teach it and then get right back too. Yeah. So they kind of mix it up, probably personnel based, depending on who they want to shoot in the corner. But I think you're playing with fire in a knockout game when you're in a playoff, when you're giving up open shots like that consistently.
Exactly. I agree with you, because even though the Lakers, shooters weren't shooting that well in the seeding games, they've been heating up more, as the playoffs been going on. So you are definitely playing with fire. So Coach Nick, I wanted to ask you, in Game 3, the Heat ran a lot of pistol, with Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Myers Leonard, and even some pistol dribble handoff. Why do you think we didn't see that as much as pistol action in Game 4? And do you expect to see more in Game 5?
Well, there's a lot of variations to it. So we certainly saw no shortage of handoffs, especially when Bam is in there. So it functions differently when Bam Adebayo is in there versus Kelly Olynyk or Myers Leonard anyway. So that's probably part of it, which is the risk you run by, throwing a guy in there having not been in there the game before, or actually he missed 2 games. So, it could be disruptive. That said, I thought Bam was awesome and really helped them on both ends of the floor as it was. So it wasn't like he was a net negative. He was a positive for them. So I would think you're going to see a lot of the high post handoff cuts around him, which is all part of the family. We might not see exactly like, okay, dribble, handoff, screen. But I would imagine we'll get back to that. And I know that Spoelstra was looking at that and have to encourage it. It's a little bit organic. So that's not always the kind of thing like you call. It's like sort of part of their motion offense. So sometimes coaches just need to be a little bit more, a little louder in their encouragement of like what they need to get, because that happens. The other thing that I want to call out is KCP deserves a game ball here for his performance in this finals. What he's been able to do against Duncan Robinson and chase him around those screens to disrupt stuff has been really impressive. I think I might even do a video for tomorrow just focusing on that, a quick one. Because, and then on top of all that energy he's expending on the defensive end to disrupt things, then he did very well offensively and was, hit the key couple shots down the stretch. So that's a big thing. He's really being disruptive. And plus the Lakers' hands are they're so disruptive in getting deflections, and they're physical too. Yeah. So it's not just so easy to I'm going to hand off and I'm going to cut through. They got a body on you. They're pushing you. They're making it very difficult. And then all of a sudden things stagnate. I also want to say that I think that by putting Anthony Davis on Jimmy Butler, I think it kind of threw them off. And I think Butler kind of was like, okay, we got to get into 4D chess instead of just playing what they normally do. And I think that hurt them too.
Yeah.
So so what do you think? I mean, can the Miami Heat defend LeBron and AD? Can they stop them? Is it possible with the lineup that they have?
Well, it depends. If we get the AD who in Game 3, and then also did it in Game 4, who just hovers around the 3-point line for long stretches of the game, then sure, they can defend Anthony Davis. And in fact, I think the zone could do fine against Anthony Davis anyway, because all of those mid-range shots he likes to take from 18, 19 feet, I feel like a guard in the zone could contest that as easily as his man. They generally give him a little space and then try and jump and put a hand up anyway. So I don't think that's much of an issue. Now he could try and post up the zone, which is a very viable attack, but we really haven't seen that much against the zone anyway. It could very well be why they're worried about playing it. I mean, I get it. When you have LeBron flashing high post or even AD flashing high post against the zone, there's not much you can do, which is why they haven't run it as much. But I feel like AD, the way he's been playing, they can control that. And even though his numbers were fine last game. They're not the 36, 37, 38 points that we had seen in the last round when he was really hurting people. And with LeBron, LeBron is not the same player he was 5 years ago. And, he had a terrible first half. I mean, even for anybody's standards, much less LeBron standards. He was turning the ball over in ways we don't normally see. He missed easy shots to the rim. I know one lefty layup that he airballed. There was contact right behind his neck, but it just seemed kind of like that didn't seem like enough to throw him off that much. At least he should hit the rim. So, but he really obviously rallied in the second half and led them and carried them and put them on their back and all those cliches. He really did. So you can't hold him down for more than the half as it is. You have to hope that your offense is playing better And that's what the Heat need to do. You can't beat anybody in the league scoring 97, 98, whatever it was, 96 points. Can't do it. You're going to have to score 110. And that's been the biggest surprise to me, is that they've been shooting so poorly from three. And again, more testament to the Lakers defense as well.
No, yeah, for sure. So Jigglepuff is asking, how much would Dragic returning help the Heat? Hashtag you win.
Jigglepuff, by the way, is my moderator for all of my chats. So, and he's always there no matter what. Even if I don't tell him I'm going live, he's there and does it. So thank you. Yes, huge shout out. And how much would Dragic return? So, he hadn't been looking great the last couple of weeks anyway before he went down. I felt like he might have been beat up, and just, at the end of the season, this is how it looks. So I wasn't, even though he was able to get 20 points a couple of those games and be very vital, it just felt like everything was a slog for him. So I just don't think it's realistic for him to come back. He's torn the plantar fascia muscle. It's like, I just don't know. People have said, yes, when you tear it like that, you actually can come back, versus like a slight tear, or it's just inflamed and it really just hurts forever until he goes away. But he helps. He's a veteran. He's keeps everybody off balance. He can hit that runner. His 3-point shot is inconsistent at best. But he has that experience, and so yeah, he would probably help to some degree. I liked what Kendrick Nunn brings energy wise and ability wise, but he got his a shot blocked by Anthony Davis on a drive that maybe Dragic is a little bit more veteran savvy to get that off better, and that was a key drive, I believe, in the fourth it was. So he would help, but not if he's not moving anywhere near close to 100%. And he wasn't looking that way before. Hard to believe he would be able to look any better after.
Well, thanks, Austin, for tuning in. So Veer Gupta asks, do you think Frank Vogel has done a great coach?
Yeah, that's a good question too. It's always hard to evaluate a LeBron James team as far as who the coach. It's because you never know exactly who is in charge and who is coaching it. But I will say that the things that I've noticed that are like out of LeBron's control in theory would be how they operate, how he's gotten the role players to operate around him has been really impressive. So some of these guys like Caruso and Kuzma even probably don't look as good on other teams. I don't think Caruso would look, and Caruso looks good. Like, he's a legitimate NBA player and sixth man or whatever you want to call him. I don't know if he'd look as good playing for, Orlando or one of the other teams that's closer to the bottom. But because the way they've shaped this team around, they've all bought into their roles and they understand how to function there for the most part. That tells me that they're being coached really well. On the defensive end, though, that's really impressive. I think Vogel's really focused on that, realizing that, LeBron, he's LeBron. We don't need to worry too much about the offense in theory. But I think that defensively, what you see them doing is really impressive, and also probably deserve just a breakdown on that. It's not so sexy to talk about defense, but the way they're physical, the way their hands are active, the way they move and play. LeBron isn't the guy who gives out on energy all the time, but he's been giving out more this year than I'd seen him. So that's a really big key for them, and you can't look. You have to start with Coach Vogel when you're looking at who to give credit for.
Yeah, and people were ready to, discount Coach Vogel early in the season, thinking that, he had Lionel Hollins and Jason Kidd, but he's done such a great job of not only leading this team, but managing all the different egos. So, Coach Nick, I wanted to ask you about the Miami Heat lineup changes, especially with the bench. Do you think Myers Leonard should have played more rather than, Iguodala? Because Myers Leonard really spaces the floor. He'll bring the bigs on the perimeter, opening up the driving lanes.
Either way, depending on, I think it's like how they've played determines playing time. And Myers Leonard simply deserves playing time. The way he played those two games, he doesn't deserve to sit on the bench and not get any minutes in that last game. So yes, Myers Leonard should certainly get it. So when you say that, okay, who does he get minutes from? The only guy you would look at really would be, Andre Iguodala, who got, I think, like 19 minutes in the last game. I probably should have my, the thing called up. But, take 5 minutes or 6 minutes away from him, maybe take a couple other minutes from somebody else like Nunn, and give those to Myers Leonard. Give him his, 4 minutes to start the game, and give him, the 4 or 5 minutes in the third quarter. I think he deserves at least that. And, so that's an interesting thing. Now, Bam came back. Olynyk's minutes were then cut. I think they should try and play them together. As far as I can remember, they didn't do that at all. And I would like to see that. Like, that would be a thing where you'd start. But the problem is you can't start them because then I guess Crowder goes to the bench, and they would never not start Crowder, even though, Crowder has been okay. I kind of want to really quickly check the stats. Crowder, let's see here, has averaged 11 points. And what has he shot from the 3-point? Oh, you know what? Jay Crowder has shot 40% from the 3-point line. I would not have said that in this finals. In the
Me neither.
That's crazy because he's missed some key ones and he seemed off. But so you can't not start him and what he does on defense, But I would like to see at some point, running a lineup where they can get those Olynyk and Van together just to see what would happen if it would hurt them at all. So they have some options here, but it's pretty much getting toward the end of the rope for them.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting a lot of love from a lot of the Indian fans. Who's your pick? Maybe LeBron or AD? I mean, we're assuming, of course, Lakers are going to win the next game.
Right. I mean, if they don't win the next game, they'll win the game after that, I'm pretty sure. So, although, if somehow they make some sort of adjustment, right, and get to a game 7, and then, we won't talk. You'll have to have me come back on if that happens and the Heat win, okay? Because that would be devastating.
You're more than welcome anytime, Coach Nick.
All right, to Mr. James, but that's not going to happen. He's not going to lose a 3-1 lead. But if it's close, it's not close. Okay, it's LeBron James. It will always be LeBron James. He is playing better as far as the box score numbers anyway, and he's playing better for longer than Anthony Davis anyway. Davis's game 3 wasn't as. Let's see. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, Davis's game 3 and the game 4 had these stretches where he was just around the perimeter and he didn't get any shots. I know he had some foul trouble, but that didn't affect him in the second half, and he still only got like the 7 shot attempts in the game 3. And then in game 4, he did it kind of the same way. He actually did turn it around when LeBron went out in the end of the third, early fourth, and did hit some shots, and all of a sudden came to life, but then kind of faded away again, and LeBron was the man. So it's without question, it's going to be LeBron James. It was probably already going to be LeBron James before the series started, but he's already acquitted himself well enough. He should win that award unanimously.
Oh, I think it should be hands down LeBron James. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I think the odds are like minus 600 for LeBron or something like that, and it's plus 800 for AD. So I think if you bet on AD winning the MVP, you could make a lot of money for sure.
One day someone will finally explain how plus 600 or minus 200. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never understand what that means. I want 3-1, 2-1. Like that's what I can follow.
I agree. So now,
so we ran audience poll as well, and that's what the image was. And of course, 53% of our audience felt that it's going to be LeBron James.
I think we all agree that it's going to be LeBron James. So, Coach Nick, I got to ask you the question of the playoffs. Had the Lakers had an easy path to the finals, what are your thoughts about the playoff path to the Lakers so far?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, Anthony Davis and LeBron James are so much better than anybody the Heat have, for instance, right? When you went to Denver, that was also the case, but probably by less. So, and what I think here's the difference. When you have guys like Steph Curry out, KD, Kyrie, those are 3 of the top 5 or 6 or 7 players in the league. And so that definitely, says something about the path that he took. But now I got to remember who they played before that. Let me go back.
Houston.
Oh, yeah, in Houston. So they have Harden and Russ. So the question is, has it been easy or has it been like all-time easy? What's the context here?
I think has it just been easy for like this year,
Yeah, they had to play Portland. Well, I mean, it has been easier. It has been easier. The Portland Trailblazers got beat up really quickly and they were already shorthanded to begin with. Because there was a moment there where, they lost game 1 and you thought, okay, they could do some things, but CJ broke his back. Dame was injured also. And they were already missing Ariza. So that kind of was already out of the bat a little bit of an easier path for them, but that's normal for a first round for anybody. The Rockets, I don't think anyone realized how unhappy they were with each other. It sounded like the bubble did not do the Rockets well, all that enclosed space with them. So that was easier than we thought it was going to be. But personnel wise, you'd say, oh, that's a good team, and that they had to really expend a lot of energy to beat them. And then obviously the Nuggets, what they had to go through after going through 7-game series twice in a row, they were kind of gassed as it was. So it's been a little easier for them. But then again, I don't think you get an asterisk for winning a title, with that kind of a path. You might get an asterisk just for playing in the bubble the way they have, and that's because it's all so radically different. But I don't know. I wouldn't take any shine away from from that specifically. They still got to do the games. They still got to hit the shots. They still got to play the defense.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't knock them down at all for the ease of going through the playoffs.
And it looks like 77% say yes. The audience says the Lakers are getting an easy path. And I'm not surprised, because the Blazers are already going to the first series. They were already kind of beaten up because they basically had to win all their seeding games just to even get into the playoffs.
Right.
The Rockets, Russ was kind of injured a little bit, and you alluded to, Coach Nick, the chemistry problems. I think people are saying it's easy. The main thing is because they didn't have to play the Clippers. Because I think the Clippers would have beaten the Lakers because the Clippers were built to beat the Lakers. I think that's the main reason, an argument to say that the Lakers had an easy championship.
So and I have been calling that all season long, that the Clippers could beat the Lakers because, here's the thing with the Lakers, like, who is their third best player? Who is their fourth best player? And when you identify KCP or Caruso, like in any other normal year, you'd say there's no way a team could win a finals with that being your third or fourth best player. But then again, AD and LeBron are that much better than anybody else they played on the floor that it does balance that out. But would it balance it out if they had to play a team that had KD on it or Steph Curry on it? That is the difference. Or Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So, it really was too bad that we were deprived of that. And it ultimately cost Doc Rivers his job for not winning that series and having been up 3-1. So I agree that certainly was an unfortunate event that happened there, even though, it was fun to watch Denver do that. The Clippers, they were better suited to, I think, compete against the Lakers, but not the way they ended up playing. Those last three games were not, unless they had radically been able to turn it around. Let's just say they win the game 7 to get to the final, conference finals against the Lakers. The way they had been playing, even still, was not the kind of thing that would give you a lot of confidence against the Lakers. But it happens, and everyone, LeBron had lost. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving in 2015, and the Warriors got they won it, and so that happens with injuries. It happens all sorts of ways, and I get it, but I wouldn't want to take anything away from that. I might take it away from them from the bubble thing, just because that's easier. I think that's easier, but the path is the path. It's hard to change that.
Yeah. Let's just call the Clippers like a brain freeze. I guess, but
okay.
Anyway, but I think moving on, like from the teams to, I think Doc Rivers was hired as the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, and of course, our audience also asked Steve Nash being hired the coach of the Nets. What are your thoughts in terms of Doc Rivers and Steve Nash?
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with Doc Rivers. So that was kind of shocking because that was Mike D'Antoni's job to have. And I don't know what the delay was when he visited and they talked, because it sounded like it was his job to accept. And I'm telling you, Doc Rivers swooped in there the second he got fired from the Clippers and just took that job. I don't know. I just have serious doubts of whether Embiid and Simmons could win a title together, that pairing. So I don't think he's going to get them to a title. But then again, maybe nobody, you could bring Phil Jackson out of retirement and he wouldn't get there either with them. I do hear that they're going to do some roster changes, and I would imagine that's at least Horford is not going to be there. But I would be a little bit surprised if they did break one of those up. But I would trade one of them, and that's probably the next big question: is who would you trade? I might trade Simmons. I feel like he's the guy that is more troubling for a playoff than Embiid would be. So, I don't know exactly what his value is at this point. He's exciting. He's great. If you use him properly, they certainly weren't doing that by the end of the season. So that's a real problem that a coach would need to figure out. And that's what Doc has on his plate. How can he get Simmons to play his best with knowing that they're ultimately going to be able to shut him down without a lack of any kind of, shooting from outside of 5 feet. So that's going to be a challenge. I think Doc is going to be fine, and he'll be better than what they had there. But I don't know if they get farther than where they got anyway. So that's probably what's going to happen there. And then Steve Nash, it's a big unknown. If we want to look at Steve Kerr as the template there, then that's certainly great. And they have the pieces to replicate that in Brooklyn. So that's possible. I've seen Steve Nash coach live and up close and personal, and it's really impressive. He really understands the game, has a really great eye for detail, which tends to be a thing that some coaches are challenged by. And he certainly, I would think, knows how to manage, and communicate. So I would expect them to be very, very good, top of the Eastern Conference, and have a legit shot at getting to the finals next year with that team if they're healthy.
I agree. And I keep telling Mr. Kumar, Nick, our coach Nick, that I think that the East is going to be the deeper conference because they have the Celtics, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Celtics, and the Nets. So I think the Eastern Conference is going to be a lot of fun to watch next year. So, Coach,
you like the Celtics if you listed them twice.
Oh, my bad. Okay, then I get that's 4 teams. So
I don't know. I don't know about them. And I think Brad Stevens is going to be in the hot seat next year.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He didn't make the necessary adjustment. He got outcoached by Coach Spoelstra. So I got to ask you about the Clippers vacancy. Who do you see taking that seat? Do you see Tyronn Lue coming in, Sam Cassell, maybe an underrated hire like Mike D'Antoni? Who do you see, Coach Nick, as the next Clippers head coach?
Well, that would be interesting. So D'Antoni, I haven't even heard that, but obviously that makes sense once he doesn't go to Philly. And that actually might be a better fit anyway. Mike D'Antoni wouldn't have fit in Philly with that personnel as it is, I don't think. Although I guess in theory, Ben Simmons running that Nash role, again, but it feels so regular season to me and not playoff, threatening. But D'Antoni's interesting. I hadn't really considered him only because it seems like a done deal that Ty Lue would get it, and then he's just negotiating by, visiting New Orleans or whatever. But so Ty Lue, because it's like if you're looking for a coach that already has experience who can come in right away and win a championship with a team that's built for that. Well, Ballmer needs to only look, over his shoulder, and there's the guy who's already on the bench for them in Tyronn Lue. So that's why it seems like a no-brainer. But again, every day that goes by that doesn't happen is a little bit interesting to me. So I would imagine there's negotiatings going on right now with him, and if they can make it work, they'll just hire him. But if he wants too much or whatever, then maybe that will be something. I'd be wondering also if he gets to hire his own assistant coaches or not. That doesn't always happen that way, interestingly enough, where management kind of just wants to say who they have to hire. Doc Rivers was doomed the second they hired Tyronn Lue. And I know that Tyronn Lue was a protege of his, and he trusted him. I know Tyronn Lue didn't do anything to undermine him, but that's the risk you take when you have a guy who's already won a title as a head coach on your bench. The manager's always going to look at that and go, "Oh, let's just bring him in then." So I would be shocked if it wasn't Tyronn Lue. I know Sam Cassell has been grooming to be a head coach for a long time, and we'll get a shot for sure. But I think when you're talking about a team ready to win and they have to win next year or else lose Kawhi, perhaps they need to do something. That Tyronn Lue seems like the best bet.
Well, I think good luck to any coach who comes in, because I think they have a lot to prove and live up to those expectations of winning the championship again. But I know an audience asked a question before and we forgot to ask that, but who do you think is like the most underrated player in the NBA?
Oh my goodness. Because I feel like I had answered that. We talked about this and I'm forgetting who I said, but who did I say? Who's the most underrated player? Did we talk about this before yesterday? And I did I tell you? No. I'm blanking. No. It's early here.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Who was the most underrated player? Gosh, I had this answer ready to go. I mean, let me think about it for a second. Who are the typical people we talk about?
Maybe I don't know, Devin Booker or some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he's not underrated. I feel like. Let me think about who I'm going to think about it. Let me look at the teams here. Let me 1 second. Okay. So Jamal Murray was a guy who, after this playoff run, was so impressive to me that I'm like, he's like a top 5 point guard in the league, or maybe even a little bit higher. Now, of course, we all forget that Steph, because Steph hasn't played for a while. But and then Steph, Kyrie, whatever, knock him down farther. But Jamal Murray could very well be that guy. The way he scored and the way he assisted and played that position in those playoffs was as skilled and as impressive as anybody I'd see. He'd do everything and more. He would do shots that you'd never believe anybody could do. So that is a huge one as far as underrated.
Drew Holiday, maybe. I don't.
Yeah, true. I mean, I feel like, see, here's the problem. You get into the situation where, well, he is, regarded pretty highly. So maybe he's, rated where he should be. So Drew Holiday is
Maybe,
in that discussion, but
Bradley Beal, maybe, because he doesn't get his due. I mean, he's not an underrated player, but I just think that nobody takes him seriously because he does stat sheet for the Washington Wizards.
oh, Brad Beal is another great one. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had a ridiculous season and no one noticed it. No one watched it because he's in obscurity in Washington. So that's another good call. Certainly Bradley Beal.
Maybe Damian Lillard before the bubble, because he missed out on a couple of All-Star appearances.
Yeah, but I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone recognizes greatness there, So it's like, I'm looking for the guys who are, like that. Like Jamal Murray is not even a great pick anymore either because of what he did. Everyone now really knows it. Gosh.
We got an audience question that said Tyler Hero.
I wanted to say that, but he's so young that he's not even, we're not even ready to kind of rate him either way yet. But I think he's going to be an all-star. So yeah, the problem is what the Heat are talking about, like anybody potentially bringing in to like get him better, kind of like cuts into Tyler Hero's minutes next year, which sucks because he should start. Like I'm thinking that maybe Dragic goes away and they put Tyler Hero there and let him start and develop, and then they don't miss too much. I mean, the irony being they made it to the finals this year, but maybe they don't make it to the finals next year, but they're better, overall, and eventually they'll be better. But yeah, I mean, Hero is definitely in that discussion. But again, I think he is still up and down. So we're not quite ready to rate him,
it's pretty premature for now because he's like, as you said, I mean, he's a very young player. I mean, he's got a lot of improvement, a lot of room for improvement, of course. So let's hope that he develops his game and becomes a star.
Yeah. Well, the guy that I always trumpet, though, the guy like TJ McConnell, In fact, I was going to make these T-shirts that says TJ McConnell is good because people don't really want to believe that. He's good. Even like a guy like Anthony Caruso, he's good. He is underrated. There's another example. Anthony Caruso can pass. He can play defense very well. He's very smart. He doesn't shoot as well as he should for that kind of position, but there's another guy who's underrated. KCP, is probably a little underrated too. I mean, if you want to go there and look at the finals, Kelly Olynyk is underrated. On that end. What's that?
Karis LeVert, a little bit.
Yeah, he is good. He's good. And by the way, alongside the other two, he should look better. He should get easier shots, and he should be able to get 18, 20 points easy. So, so Karis LeVert could be under that. Although, again, I think people recognize him too. But he's got one last shot. This is his next year to really prove that he could do it on a good team once and for all. But, that he could be in that. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie is also probably underrated as well on that end. So it's a good question.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's move on and know a little bit more about B-Ball Breakdown. Of course, I mean, we're all interested to know, like, how did you come up with that idea and just what made it click? I mean, of course, you have 800,000 followers on YouTube now, and, of course, the comments keep coming in. So just let us know a little bit more about B-Ball Breakdown.
Sure. And I want to make sure I didn't quite get to 800, did I? Am I there? Because I think I need to celebrate when that happens, but I have to keep my eye on it. Yeah, it's very close. I'm going to tell you right now. I have 797, almost there.
Almost.
10 years ago, back in the days of YouTube was the Wild West, and you had these internet stars who could make a nice living just by talking to the camera and screwing around. And so I had a buddy who was managing a few of those people, and we were like talking about stuff and was like, let's create a channel that we could reverse engineer what we learned by accident with those guys. And so after a little while, I was like, well, hey, how about, I had coaching experience, I had editing experience. Let's mix these two things and do something for basketball. It also came out of the 2009 Celtics Bulls series, which was a 7-game first-round epic thing. And I actually broke down every one of those games during the break, which you can watch on the YouTube channel. And, it was epic and it was dramatic, but there was a lot of sort of bad basketball being played and a lot of basketball that wasn't being pointed out what was really going on. So I was like, someone needs to point out like why this is happening and why this defense is breaking down and stuff. So out of that, I started it, in 2010, but I was also coaching at the high school level full time as well. So the day I stopped coaching was the day that B-Ball Breakdown blew up in 2013. I just started doing it every day and really focusing on it. I think what one of the steps that really kind of caught on was that, the tagline is, it's not a channel, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And I would respond to the comments. And I think that was different considering, before, if you were watching ESPN, you were forced to sit on your couch and they would tell you what's happening, no interaction. These guys wouldn't, if they were ever on Twitter, they wouldn't respond to tweets or whatever. So there was a very one-way conversation. And so I came in there and was like, yeah, let's discuss this. Let's argue. And that seemed to really catch on in the YouTube sphere. And people really dug that. And so that was probably the genesis of it. And then certainly just making it look better and better. 2010, I wasn't even doing HD for a lot of it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Once I went to HD, that was ticked up in views and subscribers, and made it look better and better for the background. So all those things kind of contributed. And then, then when focusing on it every day really made a big difference in 2013 going forward. And then that's it. And I still try. It's a little harder to keep up with the comments these days, but I still try for the first 24 hours to get in there, respond, and interact. And then certainly on Twitter, which is a whole other animal. I'm on there a lot, just kind of interacting during the games and stuff. So I think that was really the key. I think the key was the interaction between the people watching and me. And that continues to be a thing that people really want to be able to do. And it brings me lots of pleasure and joy to be able to interact like that and get the feedback right away and know what I could do to improve or not.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoy watching your channel, Coach Nick, especially post-game, think that instant reaction and instant post-game thoughts. Then the next day, the actual breakdown. So your channel is awesome, and it's definitely going to continue to grow. So I enjoy it. I'm a fan.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
So and thank you. And of course, it was very interesting to talk to you. And maybe you can ask some of our followers to follow your channel. You can talk about it. And
Yeah. Oh, well, listen, it's not hard to find me. If you type in B-ball on YouTube, it will autofill to B-ball breakdown pretty much. I've been around that long, simply because I've been around so long. But, B-ball breakdown is where it is on YouTube. Certainly Twitter is there too, and that's a fun conversation. But it's all B-ball breakdown, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram, by the way, you should follow me there, especially because I do a lot more coaching stuff there. Tips, online demo stuff, on-court demos. And then, it's more X's and O's versus anything else. But, and IG is a fun place to do it. I actually will do some more live things there in the off season as well. So, anywhere, any kind of social media. I have a Twitch. I haven't done Twitch, but I've got it. So one day I'll figure that out. But, so I'm easy to find.
Well, thank you very much, Coach, for your analysis and insights. And we enjoyed having you on the show. So thank you.
My pleasure. I'm in.
You're in.
Hope to see you in India. Maybe we conduct a clinic here in India. And
absolutely,
hopefully after whenever it's conducive for travel, So
absolutely,
thank you
I
once
will
again.
be there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
thank
Coach
you,
Nick. And we'll definitely be following B-ball breakdown. So maybe you can see some comments from Patel and Kumar.
You got it.
Thank you. Well, that was interesting. I think it was a fantastic conversation there with Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown. Of course, we only had very little time to discuss a lot of the, about the finals and other teams and players. And I think let's hope to get him onto the show in the future as well. So, but now I think we got to move on to the Indian Tadka section, which is going to be the spiciest section on YouTube. The Patel and Kumar NBA talk show, Indian Tadka. Well, welcome back once again to the Patel and Kumar NBA talk show, Indian Tadka. And we are going to make it spicier because we are going to have Sanjana Ramesh, who's from Karnataka, but currently playing for Northern Arizona University, a D1 NCAA basketball women's team. And, we're going to have her on the show. So welcome to Sanjana Ramesh from Northern Arizona University. She's currently in, of course, Arizona, practicing. And I think the season starts pretty soon. So we're going to see her, in action in this Indian Tadka section.
Welcome, Sanjana, to the Patel and Kumar show. We're very excited to have you. You're like a block machine in that clip, man. It's like a no-fly zone.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And
Thank you. Thank you for having
finally,
me.
we have and finally we have Ron in the show. Otherwise, it was just me and Mr. Patel, and none of the girls wanted to look at us. So hopefully, you coming in improves the rating of the show.
That's just too mean. Come on, you guys are really good looking.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Me a little bit more
anyway,
than Mr. Kumar, but yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome once again, and we are so excited to have you, and especially it's such a commendable job scholarship. Not many people get it, even in the U.S., and especially for somebody from India to get a D1 scholarship. You're only the second female to get it from India. So how has the experience been so far?
Oh, it's been really great. My life has completely changed in the last 2 years. I don't even recognize myself like 2 years before this. So it's been a really great experience. I've learned a lot.
Yeah. And how was that transition for you coming from India to playing, Division I college basketball at Northern Arizona?
Initially though, it was a bit hard because it's a cultural shock. You're like going to a new country. In fact, I hadn't even been to like US before, and that was my first time. And I'm living there for a year, so I didn't really like understand how hard it was going to be. And only once I got here, I realized that like it's really like a difficult transition in the beginning. You try to understand the culture, try understanding their like way of perceiving basketball. But I think I've learned a lot being here.
Very nice, very nice. So, what would you say is the main difference, especially, of course, when you play in India? I mean, it's just the coach. You never get a strength and conditioning expert. You don't get a trainer. You don't get a physician. But I mean, these are some of the things that are like natural in a college team. So how different has it been, especially considering you get so many resources?
Oh, it's been really different. Especially like you said, weight and conditioning. We have like weight and conditioning like thrice a week where we lift heavy weights and stuff. So my first week here, all these fancy names, hang cleans, power snatch, deadlift. I mean, I've never done that before. But these things are really important to like help your game get better. And we actually have a very good like strength and conditioning program here, and that's really helped my game improve as well.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some of your goals for the upcoming season for yourself and then for the team as the season's going to start at the end of November?
So this year we're expecting to win the Big Sky Conference and get into the NCAA tournament. I mean, we always are every year, but this year we have a very, very good chance of like getting into the NCAA tournament. And personal goals, I mean, it's more like detailed, I guess. Have like maybe be the highest blocks on the league in my conference, I mean. And then also like just at least get like 10 to like 15 minutes of playing time because it is pretty competitive here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so basically, you're saying is that because of you playing almost in the starting five or coming off the bench, that you guys would qualify for the NCAA tournament, right?
I hope.
I love that confidence. They definitely.
Yeah.
I know. But I mean, overall, I mean, we always, laud about men player from India. Of course, we want an NBA player. Of course, not too many people, of course, know about WNBA as well. What are your aspirations in terms of, are you planning in terms of trying to get into a WNBA team? Would that something that would be your number one goal?
Yeah, my ultimate goal is to get into the WNBA. Basically, like I've already started preparing right now, making a plan about by my third year, I'll have a very good idea if I would get into the WNBA or not. And I feel like this would help both my academic goals because I'm also very academically like competitive, I guess. So
Yeah.
That's my first goal. If I get into the WNBA, I'll also do my masters or PhDs while I'm in the WNBA. If that's not the case, I mean, there are other leagues possible too. Like you start off in Australian league or like in Europe, and you start building from there. And then after a few years, maybe the WNBA would call you. So I'm also preparing for that. We'll see how that goes. Talking to a few people here and there, just asking about everything like all the information I can get about like different leagues available.
Yeah, and it's never too early to start doing that, because you're in the second year and keeping all your options open. It looks like we ran an audience poll asking, will India get a WNBA player before an NBA player? And 76% say yes. So Sanjana, what are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I love this. Yes, I mean, right now, like I guess principals in the NBA G League and everything, and I love that there's like a good competition, here. I do feel like there's a better chance of a WNBA player because I mean it depends. Like NBA player, they're different leagues, Like, but WNBA is just the top league. There's not like a G League or a D League and stuff.
Yeah.
So it depends on what type of league, but I feel like going through a college route really like helps you like go through that culture, play through that competition, and you're not like directly getting exposed to the competition, which is much harder. Like you have a lot of pressure on you, and that's your one shot. But I feel like this way I'm getting more prepared, and we have a better chance of. I mean, women have a better chance in this case to like get into the WNBA.
And did you always before you came did you always want to go to college, or did you think about taking the international route, going to the WNBA route and skipping college?
I did, but WNBA has a rule right now that you have to attend college before like getting into the WNBA, which is kind of weird because they do have this rule about it, but I've seen like other players just directly get in, so I don't understand how that works. But yeah, I would have loved doing that. I just don't think that I'm in that level yet, which I can like accept. And I feel like being in like America really has helped improve my game, and I think I can reach that level one day.
Yeah, I absolutely feel, getting college experience, especially in the US, and more importantly, Division One, it's very important because, as you said, I mean, yeah, you get those, extra resources that probably you don't get, somewhere else, and these are some of the things that you need to get used to before you become a professional player, because the standard of play in WNBA is, I mean, you may say that it's women's basketball, but I mean,
It's high.
I have looked at, Sue Bird and, all those kind of players. They play at a very, very high level. And, if you need to compete with them in the WNBA, that's what you require. And of course, we have some of your fans also saying good luck to you. And they would also be very happy to see an Asian player coming in. So who is your WNBA GOAT? Is it Sue Bird or is it Taurasi?
This is hard because they're my favorites. This is just really hard. I mean, right now it's Sue Bird, but then like Diana Taurasi, I feel like right now, I mean, they're really old too, so they're retiring a bit. But yeah, it's Sue Bird for me right now. It's just at the moment. But Diana Taurasi is my all-time favorite. I always say that in any like interview to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, Diana Taurasi was like the Magic Johnson of like WNBA or something. She was amazing,
She was.
Yeah.
So Soham is asking, since basketball scholarships are rare, do you believe it's possible for Indian players to go to the US on virtual scholarships?
Virtual scholarships.
On the virtue of their game, I think.
Oh, virtual.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, I do believe it is possible, but then I feel like we need to be exposed more to the US level of basketball because I think people don't really understand the level of competition here, especially me. I think it's just not our fault because we don't see that level in person, and that's why we need more opportunities like the NBA India games and like training camps and stuff like that, and opportunities from like NBA Academy and stuff. So I think that would really like help people understand what they need to do to get to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just put up a list actually of how many players from India are actually studying in the US. I mean, boys and girls, of course. We found a list of 13 people. Of course, you're the only one who's got a D1 scholarship. But 9 girls and 4 guys. And if you count, of course, Prince Singh is now going to play in the G League. It's pretty amazing because, as I said, when we met yesterday, I studied in the US, and this was 20 years back. I didn't know a system like this existed. So it towards this goal of getting a college scholarship.
Yeah.
So see, that's the list we have. Of course, Harsimran Kaur also, and I believe you also help players like Vaishnavi Yadav and others in terms of helping them with their SATs and TOEFL and stuff like that.
Yes. So like with this process too, there are like a lot of registrations and like forms, and it's a little confusing in the beginning. I did help Vaishnavi, Harsimran, even Asmat here and there. So I feel like it's a good position to be in because I'm able to guide the next generation that's coming into this group.
Absolutely. So all we can do is wish you the best, and we just hope that you get more minutes. You play in 5, and of course your team qualifies for the NCAA tournament because that would be amazing. Because I know Kavita Akula was also in a Division 1 team, but of course we couldn't see much of her, game time and playing minutes and stuff like that. But we just hope the best for you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck, Sanjana. And we look forward to watching and keeping up with Northern Arizona, keeping up with your journey. It's very inspiring and it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you gotta learn, this Dikembe Mutombo move, like whenever you block, you got to do the finger wave.
Yeah, I've been working on that actually, like trying to get a signature, like after a block signature move or something,
Yeah,
we'll see.
It's like Dikembe. Dikembe used to do this,
Yeah.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
No.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you to your university as well, because they helped us coordinate to get you, your PR team, and of course, relaying our show on the college Facebook channel as well.
Yeah, so thank you, Northern Arizona University, and thank you, Sanjana.
Of course, thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Okay. Do I just press the? Okay.
Yeah, I think our producer will do that. But one great conversation there with Sanjana, Mr. Patel. I think it's really exciting, and definitely she should be a role model for a lot of youngsters who are playing basketball in India.
Oh, she definitely is a role model, and she's very bright. You can tell her performance in basketball is always obviously speaks for itself. Coming in getting a D1 scholarship is no easy feat. She's very focused. She has a bright future. She knows that she's going to get to the WNBA, and I definitely look forward to keeping track of her journey and seeing her being successful. So she's a very, very inspiring journey, and I'm very glad that we were able to get her on to have our conversation.
Absolutely. So what a fantastic show it was today, and I think we will be moving on to our final show of the season, next week on 15th of October. But of course, we cannot go out without a bang, and that bang is we have Coach Taylor Jenkins coming on to our show, and of course Sonia Raman. So let's see what the producer has in store for us.
Namaste, India. I'm Taylor Jenkins, the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. I'll be joining the Patel and Kumar NBA talk show on Thursday, October 15th, to talk about the Grizzlies' 2019-20 season and what to expect from our young team going forward. From my previous 2 India webinars, I know that the Grizzlies have a growing fan base in India. So I'd love to have one lucky winner join me live on the Patel and Kumar show. All you need to do is to put out a post on social media using the hashtag #MeBeGrizzlies and tell me why you love the Memphis Grizzlies. Who knows, maybe you'll get to meet not only me, but also another very special guest. See you soon.
And don't miss our final episode. Next Thursday, we're going to have Coach Taylor Jenkins, Memphis Grizzlies head coach, and the first Indian assistant coach, Sonia Raman, with us live at the Patel and Kumar show. You don't want to be at no other place next Thursday. The Patel and Kumar show at 7 p.m. India time.
Namaste, fellow Strees. My name is Sonia Raman, and I am a newly appointed assistant basketball coach with the Memphis Grizzlies. Catch me live on the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show on October 15th at 7 p.m. India time. Head coach Taylor Jenkins and I will be talking about the ways forward for our young team. I will also share my personal journey of how I became the first female Indian origin coach in the NBA. I know there are so many talented women's basketball players, coaches, and officials in India, and I hope you are inspired to continue to pursue your passion for basketball. Always remember, we Streets got game. See you on the 15th.
Well, it looks like a Women's Day special today. We had Sanjana Ramesh, going to have Sonia Raman next week. But what another inspiring story. But I want everybody to please tune in to our show live next Thursday, October 15th at 7 p.m. India time. And of course, 8:30 a.m. Central time. And of course, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel on the Ekalavyas YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Patel and Kumar.
Yes, and don't also forget to like, share, subscribe to the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube page and all our social media channels at Patel and Kumar on Instagram and Twitter. Keep the comments coming in. We've already got some audience questions for Coach Jenkins and Coach Raman, and we look forward to having some more. And as the finals wraps up, we'll see you next week. Peace out.
No, but I think we got one more. I just saw somebody, I think I saw Anthony Davis roaming around in Punjab. Did I see Anthony Davis roaming around in Punjab?
Oh, we do. We got a Punjabi Anthony Davis. Okay.
we gotta roll that in because the Punjabi Anthony Davis is a must.
My bad. Let's see it. Man,
hey, look at there, right there.
The facial features and then the hair. It looks very similar, Mr. Kumar. They have very similar features. I would have said Anthony Davis. What's Anthony Davis doing in India?
No, I don't know, but actually Anthony Davis has a twin sister, and I don't know, maybe a twin brother as well in Punjab.
Yeah, I like the unibrow. The unibrow is on point too, man. So yeah, Punjabi Anthony Davis. So shout out to him and shout out to everybody involved. Thank you to the audience for listening and tuning in. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I always enjoy it. I'm the better half of the Patel and Kumar, and I'll see you. And we'll see y'all next week. LeBron James!